and I've clicked it, and then I'm going to have a victory swig of my gin.
Ooh. Now, I know you're not going to be able to say which type of gin, but what flavour?
I can say what type of gin, can I? No one's.
Yeah.
I mean, who's going to come at me?
Oh, we're not that famous yet.
It's. I think it's just a co-op one actually, but it's like
Class.
lime. But it's like lime, passion fruit, mango, and pineapple, or something like that.
Ooh,
You are quantity and fruit over quality every time, aren't you, Chris?
Yeah.
Love it.
What's your problem?
I'm just a snob when it comes to drinks like that, and I think mixers in, whether it's whiskey or gin, I think it's it should be frowned upon.
So you would have neat gin.
Yeah, drink neat gin with maybe an ice or two. I don't mind tonic, but things like when people go down the route of like, oh, let's have a raspberry, passion fruit, mango fruit flavored gin. No. It's why it's taken someone with
mouth, Scott Bryant.
No, you are wrong, and you are, which is why you're drowning your sorrows there tonight. It's taken a craftsman, someone of high skill, to create a gin, with all the finest botanicals, and you're just putting basically concentrate squash in it, and it's like,
whoa! It's it's a fruit-flavored gin with regular tonic. It's not the master craftsman you talk about has already ruined the gin that you're going on about before I've had a chance to touch it. I've just put a tin of tonic in it to make it drinkable rather than drinking it neat like the homeless man that you look like tonight. Like
it's all right. The can of special brew is just out of John. He's there moaning about your gin.
I have to say, if I was homeless and drinking, and it is a serious subject, but I would definitely be having some sort of cider based aperitif. That would be my go-to.
I'd have the White Lightning strapped to my hands. That would be my go-to.
Edward 40 hand stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Anyway, enough about binge drinking. Should we start?
Yeah, probably a good idea.
Cool. Play the intro. Hello, everyone. Welcome to New Dice Please, the bite-sized Blood Bowl podcast brought to you by the people at Blood Bowl Live. My name is Chris. Joining me this week, Mr. Scott Bryant. Scott, what's your favourite crisps?
Good evening. Do you mean flavour or do you mean crisp?
I'll take flavour and kind of variety. The crisp world is your oyster.
Okay, for the crisp, I'd go for what you would probably call a traditional crisp. A normal potato slice wedge, not your triangles or squares or anything like that. So just old tube or any other savoury snack. Okay. So it would be a regular crisp. And I think for flavour, cheese and onion would be my go-to. Just a core classic, solid, something decent.
Okay, all right, fair play. And joining us also this week, Mr. Tom Feakes. Tom, what's your favourite crisp?
I am really torn. I always come back to, I know it's boring, I always come back to a nice Walker's Ready Salted because it's just a classic. But at the moment, it's been a McCoy's crinkle cut smoky paprika. It's very nice.
See, I'm really part of me is really disappointed in us that these do feel like boring choices. But I'd literally go for a Tesco finest crinkle cut salted crisp. That would be it. They're really thick and they're great for dip.
They always hit the spot.
I know.
But yeah, it's boring.
Yeah, disappointed there's not a knick-knack or a wheat crunchy here.
I'm also very, in terms of my customer usage of said crisps, usually it's an occasion which involves alcohol in pubs. So you don't want anything that will spoil the flavour.
That's fair. Okay.
However, I would put. Sorry, I feel like they deserve their own shout out. What's-its? Or
Okay.
the giant Watsits.
Okay. Scott immediately he's looking disapproving at a giant Watsit.
No, I don't mind that, but I'm trying to resist the urge myself to talk about things from everything like frazzles, and then we're off down the what is a crisp or not a crisp? Is it a snack? And I'm still mentally scarred from the whole sauce condiment debate.
There is a discussion to be had on whether a What's It is a crisp or whether it's some other kind of snack. But let's
step back from the abyss.
No. What? No.
We can't do it. We can't do it. Anyway, enough about crisps. We're not here to sell you crisps. No, this week, we decided we would try and sell you something else. Not like swag or anything. You actually have to part with money towards us for. But we are going to basically pick a team and we're going to tell you why we think you should play that team. We're going to kind of focus on just the one team today. And trying to decide which one we were going to do. It felt like a pretty easy choice because there's one team that all three of us, Mr. Hovel, who's not here this week, not included, hasn't played this team for like anything sort of a long period, but has famously said that anyone can win 4-0 with them. We are going to try and tell you why you should play Skaven. Now, an immediate disclaimer to this is, I think I said this last week, if you're looking for how to play the perfect optimal tournament and league winning Skaven setup, we're probably not the one to be listening to. Having said that, Mr. Bryant has won a tournament with Skaven, so that is kind of immediately endorses my point. But I think we're going to tell you why Skaven are a really fun choice to pick and a really fun team to play. I'm going to immediately probably hand over to one of you guys as to why, in particular, what kind of your experience with Skaven and why you enjoy them. Mr. Feakes, why don't we come to you first? I think from memory, Skaven were your second team after Black Orcs. So what kind of like that's a big change. So why Skaven?
It's just a small change. I started off Black Orcs. Hated how slow they were, so I went to the complete other end of the scale and went for Skaven. And I ran them for 2 separate league seasons. Took them in a tournament with you, Chris, where I think I won on touchdown difference, and I don't think you've ever gotten over it, despite you actually won more than I did.
I was unbeaten that day, Mr. Bryant. I was unbeaten.
I
beat his rats, and I still came second.
And you still didn't come away with the trophy. Still in the background. So I had the 2 seasons with them, and one went really, really well. One went really, really badly. So I feel like I've kind of had both sides with it. And I've been thinking about this all day, trying to think of a better answer for why someone should play Skaven that isn't just gutter runners. Because they are the most fun piece to play with. If you want to be able to score on your turn 1 when you've kicked, gutter runners are the way to go, because you get that lovely blitz and they're one of the few pieces that are going to be there underneath it and having been able to swarm around the ball. And it is hilarious seeing that. Seeing your opponent's face when you realize you've kicked them and scored on your turn 1. Then there's been a couple of occasions where I've had where once I managed to snaffle the ball right out under Hackflem's nose, where he satisfyingly dropped it, and one of my gutter runners ran in, and just seeing the opponent's face when he'd been playing Snotlings with Hackflem, which, if you listen to our episode with Andy a couple of weeks ago, it's not Snotlings, you're playing against Hackflem, but having snaffled it from underneath his nose and scored. Oh, it's just so satisfying. And he's the only big guy you can guarantee is going to work. And I know you're going to have issues with that, Chris, because you hate the Rogo.
Absolutely not. In any
no. You can guarantee. You can guarantee. Right. Okay.
What are you on about?
Your Croxagore.
Children.
Your Croxagore. Can
Let's
you guarantee he's going to pass his nega trait?
There's a price for everything.
No. That's not the question. That is not the question.
Rat ogres are Oh no, I can't. I'm gonna. No, you've triggered me. Okay, right. Okay, you've made some very good.
Hang on. If I may, Chris, before you do, Tom, just one quick question. You said you played Skaven for 2 seasons. Did you play the same team, or did you start fresh the second season? And what was it the first or the second season which was the worst for you?
First season was the better one of the two. I had a really rough start in the second one where my team just got basically wiped out, and to the point where I almost thought, you know what, screw this, I'm kind of done with this league. There's no way I'm pulling this round. But it was the same team in both. That was only in that point because that was the only Skaven team I had. So I only had 12 players and I hadn't got the rogue at that point. So did
you redraft any players then, or was it a brand new build for each season?
It's 2 different leagues. So it was when I did the Warhammer Worlds and the Noble League.
Cool.
I ran one in each.
So, Mr. Bryant, then, because you ran Skaven 2 seasons in a row, but you did not redraft them in between, did you?
No, a bit like Tom. I feel like I'm about to tell a story. Are you sitting comfortably, children? Then I'll begin. That sounds a bit seedy. Let's move on from that. I started with Skaven just because I liked the model, and I was moving from playing 40k, and I sort of got cajoled and interested then as well in equal measure into playing Bloodbowl, and I just thought I like the models. Always wanted to play sort of Ratmen Skaven, so I thought I'd go with the Skaven, and I actually bought the team before I actually had ever worked out and read in terms of who were the better teams, meta. Just thought for enjoyment, fun. So the first season did okay, had a lot more randoms. The second season, I wanted to start from scratch and develop the skills, and had a pathway I wanted to go for each of the positionals, but that failed spectacularly. And I think that for me encapsulates a lot of the fun and stupidity about Skaven. It's as much as the players, and I'm sure we'll come on to talk about the positionals, but it's the reaction of opposition coaches to gutter runners or to everybody. And I think it's no matter if you've got a full complement of 11 starting players, or even if you've just got 4 or 5, even 6, coaches, other coaches still have that slight psychological fear. They know, to your point, Tom, how potent they can be, whether it's a one turn, whether you get a blitz, and it's that constant threat, which really makes me laugh as well. I love the fact that you can do the most amazing dodges, the most insane dice rolls, and you can walk into a cage, uphill blitz, get the bounce of the ball, walk out, walk all the way to the end zone, and Nuffles trip while you'll kill yourself. How many times have we all done a 2-up dodge out with dodge reroll? You just know you're going to fail. And it's just, it always feels like a gimme, but it's such an entertainment. And they're one of those teams which I think you get the most out of them if you play in the right mindset. If you're going to be salty, don't. I think there are things which can, be done to them, whether we talk about the Rogue, he's only armor 9, but of course he does have that guaranteed activation, as you said, Tom. And the word I love with Skaven is whether you're thinking across a league season, if we look at Carl in our own ADBBL season 8 this year as well, or you look at the one match, the bounce back ability factor, to quote the mighty Ian Drury, it's that they're always there, they always pose a threat, and you can do some ridiculous things with them, and that's why I think I love them, really do. They're very addictive. They are the heroine of the other drugs are available. They are the heroine of the Bloodbowl world, really.
I think I love that they are. They feel quite stable. They are quite squishy, like armor wise. They are pretty squishy, but they do feel quite stable. They feel quite kind of. There's a good balance of. None of the positionals, none of the players have a particular terrible stat. They are, the gutter runners are some of the best defense, like scoring threats, possibly the best scoring threat in the game. The throwers are the best throwers in the game. The blitzers, being armor 9, coming with block, movement 7, some of the best blitzers sort of stock in the game. There's a reason Skaven are tier 1 and are, they come with everything that you need. I think they're a really good team that you can kind of get started with. They're a really good team for you to grow with and kind of learn the game with as well.
I think, just to your point, Chris, when you say they're a good team to get started on, I think for me, what I would add to that as a caveat, they at first appearance, if you look at the stats, they do appear to be a good first team to start with. But you learn very quickly with Skaven that if you make any mistakes, you can get punished and punished quite heavily.
Yeah.
And then within like one or two turns, your whole game plan and actually your whole team can fall apart and, disappear off the pitch. And then you just, sometimes you will get those games, and I'm sure we've all had them.
Yeah, I think on your point with the starter teams, Chris, I think it is a good starter team, particularly if you're wanting to go out there and get someone hooked, because they're definitely the team that got me hooked on Blood Bowl. It was absolutely I'm going to move the entire pitch in one move. Great, yeah, this is hilariously fun. This is brilliant. The only thing I'd say to it is don't then stay with them, because I have learned so much more by playing the insane speed of Skaven than going slower.
I think that's a good point, because I had previous podcast guest and friend Mr. David Drysdale said to me that it's very clear, based on the way that I play in the teams that I enjoy, that I learned to play with lizard men focusing on the skinks, because I struggle with a bash game, and I love a agile dodgy. I'll try it with every team that I've got, and it's very it does show kind of the team that you learn with can, depending on how you branch out, very much kind of mold how you play and how and kind of how you go forward. I've made kind of like the progression of lizards to Skaven to elves, and I would love to go back to Skaven again, and I don't, and it's very kind of clear the way that I've kind of learned to play. So I think you're right. If you start with Skaven, you are going to learn and grow with the agile side of the game, and it is good to then pick up a bashier team so that you can, if for no other reason, even if you don't enjoy it, it's for no other reason than knowing how a bash coach will play against you, or knowing how a bash coach will play, so that even if you never touch it again, you at least know what you're up against. So that's a very good point. Something I'd quite like to do now. Let's fly through some pros and cons of, if you're thinking of buying Skaven and starting with Skaven, pros and cons. Immediately for me, a pro is, of all of the GW teams, they are one of the easiest to build, because they do just click. They're one of the basic click together ones, a bit like the dwarfs and the humans. Super easy to build. Con, you only get two gutter runners in the pack, and it is an absolute bugbear with GW teams where you don't get them. An immediate pro and con for me. It's an easy one to get round, but I think it's something to know when you're getting that team.
The other two things I would add to that, Chris, as well as the two gutter runners, obviously there's no big guy. We talked about this before on the previous cast as well. And the second thing, in terms of it's, if you are going to go out, in terms of buying the extra pieces as well, the models from GW are looking dated. There are some very good and a lot of offers out there on third-party prints and sculpts, Etsy, other sites, STF files as well. So whilst it's frustrating, there are a lot of other relatively cheaper alternatives. So if you're on a budget, there's a lot more choice out there in terms of Skavens. However, it's something else you've got to go and buy. But again, we talked about this in terms of the GW lack of alignment to the rosters.
On the Ratoga point as well, I think what's quite interesting is I've seen lots of very successful Skaven setups and teams where you put a lot of your effort into the Ratoga, and I've seen lots of successful Skaven teams where you absolutely avoid it. And I think it's good that within a team that you do associate as being, much more agile and that kind of style of play, you don't have to get that rat ogre just because it's on that bit of paper at the bottom as a positional you can have. If you don't go for it, if you don't get the rat ogre, you can still be incredibly successful with the Skaven team that you will be able to get possibly easier, which I think is an important point, and a very good point for me, because I goddamn hate that rat ogre with a passion.
I think it's a very, very good point that I didn't really consider the sculpts themselves, but they're quite an easy team to pick up, and particularly if this is your first Blood Bowl team. I'm not a painter, and I don't know how well you'll be able to see this on the camera, but even the gutter runner sculpts, they're if you're going to start off, they're one of the more simplistic. It's not like doing an elf where everything is intricate and gold and things like that. They are an easy team to get together.
You can make them look good quite. So it's, as far as even from a painting perspective, they're a good one to start with, because, like you say, while they may be slightly dated in the sculpts, possibly the lack of detail compared to some of the other ones maybe means you can make them look really, really good when you're starting out.
Yeah, absolutely.
Agree.
Okay, do we have any particular, because I think it is worth highlighting, we've highlighted why we all love Skaven, why they're possibly a good one to start with. Is there something about Skaven team that you absolutely hate, the worst thing about the Skaven team, something that really, every time you play them, something that really kind of nags at you, however big or small? And is there a way that you think that would be easily changed?
I've got one which I really, really wish that Mr. Hovel was here for, because it's the I don't know, how do I say this? It's the expectation that winning 4-0 is going to be easy. And it's the sort of thing you can absolutely do it with Skaven, but it's almost that with playing Skaven, there is an expectation you're going to be running them in a lot. And to be fair, a good Skaven coach probably is. But for anyone starting out, I'd say definitely don't put the pressure on yourself to do that.
Yeah, I think.
However, when you do it, oh man, that feels good.
Just to add to that point as well, though, Tom, if you're starting out as a Skaven coach, don't be surprised when other coaches will target your gutter runners, and when they kill them, and they will kill one of them at least, don't be surprised when they have a joyous little scream of excitement, a little clenched fist pump, something really, because people just don't like gutter runners.
It's a glorious occasion when you kill one. Oh, even when one of yours dies, there is a point where you go, nah, fair. That's fair play.
Yeah, it's the look of that was actually going to be my exact second point, Scott, and you beat me to it. It was the look in your opponent's eye when they stick the boot in after a snake dodge. Yeah. It is annoying, but also, I can never blame people for doing that.
On a question then to you two gentlemen, when you have those moments of, let's say, Skaven incredulity, the absolute bullshit dodge move moment. So you're in a cage, you're uphill blitzing, you got the ball, it's a handoff or a pass, and you've gone and you've scored. You've completely flipped the match around on its head as well. And you look at your opponent and you just see them sink. Do you feel satisfied, or is there a little tinge of guilt amongst that?
I think when if you're playing Skaven and when things, it doesn't take as much bad luck for your opponent for you to be able to punish them. So I think they are one of the teams that can punish the tiniest mistake or bad luck more than any other team. And that does mean that you could very quickly suddenly be 2 or 3 up with your opponent making minimal mistakes. So I think I've definitely had it where that's been the situation, and I've started to sort of be like, I'm sorry, but I am gonna walk in for number 4, and it can be a bit awkward, but at the same time, I've been punished by gutter runners. So I think it does go both ways, and I think that's that can be I think that's why I love them, because they can be so high risk, high reward. Like looking back at my uh previous looking at my league season where I took Skaven, and then thinking back to every friendly game I've had where I've played Skaven, I'm pretty confident I have only won a match with Skaven if I have scored at least 3 touchdowns. If I don't score 3, I lose. And that's how swingy it is. I'm either winning in high scoring games, or I'm being beaten to a pulp.
Yeah.
And that's not to say I'm I don't have a huge win rate with Skaven. It's pretty decent, but it's not like insane. But it's only because I'm scoring lots and lots of touchdowns, and I'm also probably losing lots and lots of players. Like the advice I was given very early on was, if you have 1 dead player per touchdown, you've made a worthy Skaven sacrifice.
Exactly. The one thing, if I can just add to that, Chris, and this is a word of warning for any potential future Skaven coaches as well, beware of false confidence. Beware of thinking, oh, I've got a movement 9, plus, of course, I rush, and suddenly I've got an 11 movement piece. Or whether you think you're going to do a bit of stalling or showboating to get that extra touchdown. Just a mindful warning, Nuffle does not like hubris, and the dice will go against you. I see Tom laughing at this. Yeah, we've all been there. Nuffle does not like it, in terms of what you do. But how do you two look at, say, the generic Skaven lineman? Movement 7, yes, only armor 8, but then they've got, strength 3, edge 3 as well. No other skills than that. Do you think they're underrated? How do you rate them in terms of the lineman proposition? And of course, only 50k.
They're cannon fodder. Ultimately, you shouldn't be getting so attached to them that they stick around, because they're not going to. Because out of everyone, like Chris said, if you've traded a dead lineman for a touchdown, as a Skaven coach, you take that trade every single time.
I think that's why I love them, though. I think that's why I think they are possibly one of the best in the game, because movement 7 as an out-of-the-box lineman is one of the quickest, if not the quickest, that I can think of. I don't think there's a quicker lineman movement 7.
Elves. What else?
Which,
Pro elves. No, dark elves are 6. Pro elves are
Elven Union is 6.
Yeah. So it's wood elves are 7. Yeah.
So I think having that movement 7 50k piece, you're paying for it with the armor 8. But I think that's why they're so good, is because they are quick enough with average enough stats that they can do a job if they need to. But if they die, you're almost guaranteed to be able to replace at least 1 per game. So I think that I think I completely agree with Feakes. They are cannon fodder. They are there to be murdered, but they're cheap and good enough that I don't care. I love them anyway. They're and if you do happen to look at the Chaos Renegade team, which has made it to the final of the league of the ADBBL this season, the Skaven lineman within that team now has is it like block, tackle, claws, or some mad combination of skills? It's like a blitzer now, or I think it's got horns.
Block horns and claws. He's got. Yeah.
I mean, so the potential is still there if you can keep it alive.
And I think that's it. If you can keep them alive for a few matches, get a couple of MVPs and a couple of good randoms, suddenly you've got a very, very nice lineman.
You've got another positional, haven't you?
Yeah, you do. You do, and you can for 50k you can chuck a random on them if you get something that's completely useless, sack them and rehire them. If I was being purely selfish, yeah, I'd love for them to be Edge 2, like be more elfy, so you could detach there. But that's purely selfish, and the team would be completely imbalanced if it did that.
So I reached out earlier today to our league's local Discord and just asked for any coaches who play Skaven to give me one sentence that tells someone all they need to know about being a Skaven coach. Here are some of the responses I got. First one was simply gutter runner go, which I think is probably pretty fair. Next one was humans are too generic, elves are too ridiculous, Skaven are a sensible best of both worlds, which I think is a very valid point. You've got the kind of skill balance of the humans, you've got some of the agility and nonsense of the elves. You are a nice middle ground. And the other one was very simply shoot the gap, which again, very, very solid arguments. Can I, you know what? This episode has been a mistake because I was all keyed up for who I was going to play next season. And I love my rats so much.
No.
And I can feel it. I can feel them pulling me. They're called the Ice Baron, and there is a Ice Baron hockey jersey behind me. Like they are dragging me in.
It's meant to be. Who have they taken over though?
Oh, it was going to be either elves or lizards.
Have you done a league with elves yet?
No, not yet. No, that's why.
Do a league with elves, Chris.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do also understand the point.
But can I tell you before? But no, because we're now diving into my Skaven team.
No, do it.
No, not happening. Right.
I think just coming back to the rats, if we think about taking them for a league, then Chris, you've got access to two, not just one, but two megastars. So obviously you've got Hack, Phlegm, and Creek sitting around there. One who is another filthy gutter runner, but even better. Second one is obviously has his ball and chain and the I'll be back roll. So he's going to be sticking around for possibly, if you manage it well, a full game. You've got one of arguably who's going to be the third megastar, Skitter, because I think it's only at 150k how long it's been in, having played the Skitter 5 gutter runner build as well. It's dangerous, but it's funny. And it is quite filthy. So very recommended. And for me, it's like one of the things, if I could, Tom, you mentioned your wish list for Skaven there, possibly give them the lineman more edge too. For me, I'd love to introduce the opportunity. At the moment, you can take up to 4 gutter runners. You can take up to 2 blitzers. I'd like to intermingle those to say you can take between 0 and 6 of gutter runners stroke blitzers.
Would you still put a cap of a maximum of 4 on each one, or would you allow 6 gutter builds there?
I would. I was thinking about going for 6, but I would probably say you've got to have at least 1 gutter runner or 1 blitzer with a maximum of say 4 blitzers. So you can go maximum of 4 blitzers, maximum of 5 gutter runners, but any combo of the above.
That's an interesting kind of general point for making rosters in general more flexible, of saying like, you of kind of almost double stacking the limits. So you can have, like you say, you can have 6 positionals that are gutter runners or blitzers with a maximum of 4 of one of either. Like that's quite an interesting thought of other rosters, that if you had similar rules to that, how would you do it? Would I take, if that was the case though, would I take more blitzers than gutter runners? I don't know if I would. I think because the rest of the team are armor 8 and not edge 2 like elves, I wonder whether you lose the pace by sacrificing your gutter runners for blitzers.
I'd be tempted to do 3 and 3 in that point, because the extra block. The thing is, move 7's still very, very quick.
Yeah, with block. And then the other thing I would, whilst you think about that, just your opinion, do you think Skaven should be given their own secret weapon? I know they've got Creek, but if that they got access to Bomber, should they have something with a warp lightning affinity, or like a Jezzail gun, which is one of their infamous pieces of tech from Warhammer?
I'm going to go yes, just because I think it would be hilarious. And it sounds absolutely insane, and I'm absolutely there for it.
And I think it's got to have some sort of self-detonation element of risk there, Tom, as well. So Skaven can blow themselves up as much as blow everybody up.
Yeah,
What's not to love?
Like a chainsaw kickback type thing.
Yes, but with an AOE for everybody.
It covers half the pitch.
I don't know about secret weapon. I mean, I think stab should become a secret weapon, and then give them access to more stabs. Give them more like skitter. Cut the gutter runners in half and have 2 gutter runners that are standard. But you can have 3 of them. Well, 3 gutter runners that are standard, and then you can have access to a stabbing gutter runner, but it's a secret weapon and will get sent off. Maybe do that. That sounds quite fun.
Yeah, it's not a bad idea. I think in all seriousness, I know I say more secret weapons are just more fun. If we add any more in, it takes more away from goblins, from it being their thing. So, and I don't like goblins. I've never, it's not my thing, but I can see that taken away. And the fact they already have access to Bomber and Fungus. Bomber on a Skaven team, it leans so heavily into a nice cage you've got there. Well, I've got a gutter runner.
Well, I think we've given Skaven some. I think we've given anyone who is considering Skaven some kind of good thoughts there. I don't think we've told anyone how they're going to win with them, but I think we've told them the basics of how to get started, which I think is a really good place to start with. I've ruined myself because I'm going to have to play Skaven next season now. I miss them.
Just do it. Just do it. I think it's even so. The last thing I'll say about them. Even when they fail you, you're still gonna love them. You're still gonna love.
Tell that to the gutter run. Tell that to the rat ogre that ended up at the bottom of my foot, Feakes. I don't think that's
what the actual model, or you staying away from mine.
That model, somebody has it, and I don't know who has it. And I've made it very clear I never want to see it again. And I've got a feeling at some point it's going to appear to haunt me. And I don't. I think Jane's got it, but I don't know.
It absolutely will do. But it's got to the point. The league team, which failed incredibly, I love them that much, despite their failure. I got my NAF name from them, and they're going to stay with me. So I absolutely will be bringing them back out of the box again.
Beautiful.
Well, if you are a Skaven convert now, if you were a Skaven convert already and there's something you think people need to know about playing Skaven, if you hated Skaven and now we've talked about them solidly for however long we've been talking, you hate them even more, whatever your opinions are, Scott, how do people get in touch with us?
If people want to tell us all of their rodent-related issues in a Bloodbowl context, that is. If you'd like to see a few tweaks by GW, if you feel frustrated by GW about the lack of gutter runners in your box, then drop us an email. Usual address, it's new dice please, that's all one word, or lowercase, newdiceplease@gmail.com. I could put now Mr. Feakes on the spot and say, Mr. Feakes, have you remembered how people can watch more of us and see more of us, and where they can listen to more of us?
Oh God, please don't.
I was also like, should I put Feakes on the spot here and get him to tell people how to access?
I know that you stream regularly on Bloodbowl Live.
We now.
I've never been on that stream.
You can watch us on YouTube at Bloodbowl Live, on Twitch at Bloodbowl Live. You can see us on various social media accounts like Instagram and Blue Sky as well. And you can catch this podcast, as I'm sure you already are, everywhere that you get your podcasts. Thank you very much, Mr. Bryant. Thank you very much, Mr. Feakes. Thank you, everybody, for listening. We have been New Dice Please, and we will see you next time.